Hello, Ryan Garland. I am your host of the Paradigm Shift. I cannot wait to expose the true inner depths of institutional wealth building and how to dig deep into real estate investing. I like that where that world's going. So the healthcare side, I really watch a lot. The new technology that's coming out. When we moved our headquarters to Nashville, there was more startup capital going into healthcare than anywhere else in the country. Was actually in Nashville. So I learned a lot about that stuff. A lot of AI going out there, a lot of pharmaceuticals and medical devices and technology and so forth. So I was able to kind of start hovering in that space and then really realizing how much money is being dumped into that space and how many boomers are in need of certain things, or anybody in general, and that was really an eye-opener for me on how much healthcare is needed.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of The Playbook. Today, we have a badass guest. I mean, this guy is, first of all, he's not only done so well for himself in business, but just one of the most genuine, legit, nice guys, well-mannered dudes that I've ever met in my life, and I appreciate that so much. Manages over $500 million for his investors and is a powerhouse in the development arena. He's got a big project right now in Lake Havasu, the Barn Caves, and I think you're really going to enjoy this one. We talk about a lot of cool stuff from business to personal, and so I hope you enjoy. Here we go.
All the guys that were there at the bar that I got a chance to talk to, he's like, okay, so this guy owns this company, this guy owns this company. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly the networking I'm shooting for. Yeah. It's a $10,000 buy-in and it's seasonal. So, out there, Park City seasonal. So same thing in Havasu, it's seasonal. So the people, when they're out there, they only pay their fees for the month when they're there. So it's $10,000 buy-in, $299 a month where you're there, but then you get all these kind of amenities, whether it's, park your car there, leave your car there, whatever you want to do, but you can, show up to all the events. You can have your clients come there, have a little office, what have you. So it's pretty cool.
I feel like that's a little cheap.
Oh yeah. 10 G's, 10 racks.
Well, you look at
but I'll fill it up.
You look at the networking side for these big groups like the YPO groups.
Yeah, bro.
I mean, some of these groups are 25 or 30,000 bucks a year.
Yeah, a year.
And it's like, oh man, and you've got a refined, smaller group. This is a lot larger group. I think a lot more valuable.
Yeah, I think, and what I see happening is the golfers, right now, they're nowhere to go, bro. It's fucking hot. These guys do not want to golf. So I have 4 golf simulators. They're going to go in there and golf all the time. So that's like a whole vibe. And then during the summer, it's like a whole nother vibe of groups that come in too. So that place is just be buzzing all the time. But if we can do hey guys, we're raising money for kids with cancer, you know what I mean? That will turn up for sure.
Yeah.
But dude, I have so many, the thing about Havasu, growing up, going out there, I have friends that are from LA and San Diego. They're from everywhere and they all go out there, but it's such a family oriented environment that everyone kind of sticks together. And it's it's very cliquey, but not in a bad way. It's just everyone sticks together. The boating community is very helpful, very supportive. And so that's kind of what I want to do is all these business owners that are bigger in boaters. Cause I know guys, not by their name, by the names of their boats. You know what I mean? What kind of boat does they have? Oh, it's, it's Big Daddy, the M35, or, you know what I mean? That's how people know each other out there. They don't really know each other. Oh, it's the guy with the center console and he does that company Paradyme. Nobody knows me by name. You know what I mean? They call, oh, Paradyme, or hey, it's that. It's true. So it's those are the guys you want in there because everyone's really, in essence, using that to build their brand. So by oh yeah, I got the guy that owns this company. So they want you to drop their name. Yeah.
Are most of your projects centered around some event like this is for boating for the Havasu project, but the other locations, do they have something like that? It's boating or golf or something?
Yeah. So what I am now, before not necessarily so much. So I have a project I'm completing that's a multifamily right now in San Antonio. That one is 21 units of townhomes. 21 units of apartments. And we're about 30% complete on that one. But that's pretty much the only one that I have right now as far as in my portfolio that doesn't have a lifestyle trend to it. And what I mean by that is if you look at baby boomers and their spending habits, they're like, hey, look, I'm going into retirement. I want my RV. I want my boat. I want to get out of California. I want to save on taxes. I want a better lifestyle, right? They want to travel. They want to give more to their grandkids. List kind of goes on. So when you watch that much wealth, which is where all the wealth is moving in these directions, that's where I try to hover. And one of them being in Havasu is one of the most desirable retirement communities on the West Coast. But you pull, people from here, Phoenix, Scottsdale, Vegas, all over California. And now it's going up to Washington, Oregon. It's really expanding. So that's what I'm trying to watch is healthcare, because healthcare is the fastest growing industry due to baby boomers becoming more frail, and anything that has to do centered around that, and lifestyle trends is really what I'm watching.
Yeah. Those
But
are
in the
big.
baby boomer realm,
Yeah, massive industries. And that's part of what our stuff works on is you've got these three major, I would actually tell you, healthcare, the housing or big banking side, and big utility.
Right.
Or big oil, all kind of in the same. And that's nice because
Power.
you've kind of brought this, you've brought that all together. That's really nice.
Yeah. So I think like right now, so we're so heavy in Havasu. I don't think I'll go in. I don't think I'll build another project in Havasu. I have been approached to build something like a Top Golf out there, which I think would be, if I do more, would be something like that, but more entertainment. The one thing I'm really trying to do is marry up. So we're building that 30,000 square foot gym, but I'm bringing in like a jujitsu area, and I'm trying to help with the youth side because there's just nothing to do out there for the kids. So if I can bring some of those components into it, that'd be huge. Like baseball, football, more like private training, that type of stuff that are specialty work. I'm trying to bring in trainers for that too.
In Havasu.
In
It's
Havasu.
missing in Havasu for the youth.
Oh yeah, believe it or not, it is. So
Wow.
it's crazy because people are like, Havasu, it's very seasonal, and it is. But like during the winter, you have the snowbirds that come out, right? And they all come and they want to get away from the cold, but they're very active. They love the razor. They love to work out. Very health. The health and wellness side is really growing too, even in the baby boomer realm, because a lot of people are kind of over the, let's call it the big pharma movement. They're going, a lot of physicians are going back like, hey, go back to working out and eating clean and eating healthy. Let's not give you more pills. And I think a lot of people are going back that direction. So you're seeing an uptick even in gym activity. So, more subscriptions, more people are signing up for gyms. And my buddy that's going to operate my gym, he has 30 something locations and franchisees, and he's giving me a lot of this data. So, I'm just kind of lining into that, So you want to cater to your community though.
Yeah. His gyms are dope too.
His gyms are real tight. It's a nightclub is what it is. He went after a nightclub feel.
Yeah.
With like real equipment, like the Arsenal, like manly, like primal equipment. It's badass.
I
Yeah.
miss that.
That's cool. We looked at one development project that we modeled out that the community itself would have a direct healthcare center. And so instead of running through big insurance, they had access to direct healthcare. So like right down the road here, my buddy owns a direct healthcare company. And really that's taking out all of the health insurance side, and it's all pre-negotiated cash rates. And so I pay him like, I think it's like $99 a month. And now I got my doc on speed dial. I don't have to go in and go through
That's killer.
Just go through all the garbage of healthcare. Like if I need a prescription done, it's like healthcare. Big insurance requires that I go down there, meet with the doc, get these forms filled out, and then go do this. Direct healthcare, pre-done cash. I'll give you a real example. I've got a kind of a weird kidney issue, and I get blood work done every 3 months. If I go to my regular process at the Mayo, it's like $1,200. If I go through and go to the lab directly and cut out, and Mayo's the best in the world, right? So
Sure.
I get it. You pay for the best. If I go direct to the lab, it's $220. If I pay through direct healthcare, $9.
Wow.
$9.
Yeah, that's
Same
but
exact lab
that's
results, right?
in
It's
this
crazy.
environment, in this economy, and the cost of living going up, and because baby boomers are now spending more time and energy in their healthcare and need to, that is a movement that will boom because your healthcare costs are compressed.
Yeah.
That's a big movement for sure.
Yeah, I see that
I-
in healthcare and in housing, what you're already doing, and then in energy. These massive movements, man. It's moving away from the big, crazy control from these massive entities, and it's all coming back. And to facilitate giving that back to the average American is a big freaking deal, man.
To go back on the healthcare thing, there's a group that was out of San Diego, and I really liked kind of what they were trying to do, but they were marrying up the Aura Ring and some other technology with like Apple Watches and so forth. And what their kind of philosophy is that you never go to the hospital until it's an emergency. How about identifying certain patterns within inside the way your body moves that will trigger your doctor to say, hey, why don't you come in? We need to talk. Almost like preventative healthcare, but it's able to catch things before they happen. For example, Delos Wellness, which is, a Goldman backed company out of Manhattan, They have hospital grade air filtration, circadian rhythm lighting. They've been able to identify how circadian rhythm lighting has a direct effect on like your sleep patterns, melatonin, all of these different chemicals, because this is all synthetic light we're under, right? And how that blinks real fast. What we can't see it, but it does have an effect on us over time. All the way down to like certain, like this is all paint, custom paint. Well, there's certain, things inside the paint that we're breathing in. So so there's this filtration system actually identifies what's in there. So it also has this other technology and sensors throughout the house or commercial buildings where it identifies what's in the air and starts filtering it out before you even need to worry about it, kind of thing. It's pretty impressive what these guys are doing, but it's an insurance play. And so that whole health and wellness movement is getting bigger and bigger. And how cool is that to say, hey, you know what? Your blood pressure is really high before you're like, I don't feel so good.
Right.
Start identifying that and you're getting a call from your doctor going, hey, we're getting triggered in over here. Right. So there's all this technology going into this right now. And I see it. It's going to take a little bit of time because doctors have to come up to par for that, systems and software and so forth. But there may be kind of like a center where that is all kind of being compressed to. And then everyone gets made contact with. That's your body's. Hey, your body's acting up. We need to see you or see what's going on.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, coupling that with like that direct healthcare model would be fantastic. I mean, we put check engine lights on cars. We don't have them for our own bodies. Like,
right.
Like we trade our cars in every 3 to 5 years or whatever, but our body we need for life.
Hey, your tires are low.
Yeah, exactly, man. We don't check our own body.
What about my blood pressure's high? Like, what's up?
That's wild.
Oh man, I think that's brilliant.
It's brilliant, dude.
To tie that in,
and it's a subscription base. It's like $19 a month. Like they figured this out, and you can depend. Yeah, it's really pretty impressive.
Someone out there is going to do the math, and they're going to say for $19 a month, you're going to save. The country's going to save trillions of dollars. That's crazy. I love that.
Well, think about with your situation. I don't know the depths of it, but if something were to trigger, you're getting notified before it happens.
Yeah. So mine is a blood pressure deal because kidneys control blood pressure.
Yeah.
So if I can monitor blood pressure, I can monitor potassium levels because I don't filter that out super well. I could, be ahead of a big problem, right? A small problem. That's fine. I'll go in and do something, but a big problem's a big problem.
Well, how many times do you go to the doctor and be like, oh, well, you've been having this issue for years and you're just now finding out because it finally hit a wall. It's true. So you finally get to a point where you're like, hey, I'm hitting a wall, and then you go to the doctor, but it's just been something that's been building up and going on for years and you just didn't know it.
Oh, this
it's one of those
exactly
things.
That. I found this out because of a totally different issue. And I was born with this deal. It's really kind of like an autoimmune type issue.
Yeah.
And I'd never known it, but it was something else that kicked it up. And had I waited, it would have been really, and just by pure luck, man, pure luck.
See, if it would have went longer, it'd been worse. The list goes on. So, I like that where that world's going. So the healthcare side, I really watch a lot. The new
really
technology that's coming out. When we moved our headquarters to Nashville, there was more startup capital going into healthcare than anywhere else in the country. Was actually in Nashville. So I learned a lot about that stuff. A lot of AI going out there, a lot of pharmaceuticals and medical devices and technology and so forth. So I was able to kind of start hovering in that space and then really realizing how much money is being dumped into that space and how many boomers are in need of certain things, or anybody in general, and that was really an eye opener for me on how much healthcare is needed.
It is most going into the baby boomer.
Yeah, just due to the fact that they just are getting more frail and it's very consistent. But you are also looking at kind of this movement of like people are starting to spend more time on their health and wellness. They care more. They care more about what they're eating, right? It's a big movement overall. But when you see how boomers are starting to live their life, they want to be more outdoors. They want to be more overall healthy. They want to be traveling and not having issues with walking, and the list goes on. So you're seeing kind of this like holistic, movement with boomers. So they don't have to spend so much money on healthcare, but they have a longer, more enjoyable life, right? Journey. And they're trying to implement more of organic healthcare practices to be able to get to a better lifestyle. And so it's nice to see kind of what they're doing. So believe it or not, a lot of this technology is in more like software and systems to read your body. So the preventative side, like it's crazy what's going on out there. I love watching that stuff because I'm going to implement it as soon as some of that stuff comes out for me, and not only just because I don't want to deal with the pain or what have you, and I want to be here for my kids, but it's like, I have a lot of people that rely on me to be down for 3 days or 5 days, or it's almost like it's like bankruptcy level stuff. Like we can't just be down for 2 weeks or 3 months or what have you. You know, you start thinking of things at that level, you know, like, hey, I need to stay on. It's like right now I'm eating to perform. I'm training. I'm trying to stay focused on I don't know when the last time I had a drink. You know, but I love my tequila, man. My high end tequila, bring it, baby. Everybody, I probably would like totally break that, you know. But the bottom line is like I'm so focused on work and my life and my kids. I'm trying to stay focused on the way my body operates to eat to perform, because you know I already don't sleep enough as it is. So if I can try to offset that by eating right and training right, then I'm doing better, right? So I'm trying to implement the best thing, all the practices as possible to operate at that top performance.
Nice. We kind of jumped right into this thing.
Yeah.
I want to step back a little bit. So, you know, I would say especially over the past, 5 years, you know, I've been kind of in the entrepreneurial world for a long time. Past probably 5 years, I've learned that there's only certain people that I want to work with.
Sure.
And if I don't like you, like, I don't care how smart you are or whatever, I don't want to work with you. I bring that up because it's been like a pleasant surprise getting to know you. Obviously, Ray introduced us, which shout out Ray. But you've clearly done very well for yourself. You know, I know you've been through a lot on your journey, but it's like, dude, you're just like the realest dude, and
Thanks,
you're
man.
probably one of the most polite guys that I've ever met, and that's rare. You know, you got a lot of guys, especially in the social media world, that are not doing probably near as good as you, and just think they're hot shit and just kind of walking around with this ego. And it's like, dude, why? Like, there's no point in that. So I just wanted to like commend you for that and say I appreciate that, and that means a lot. And especially, you know, with this deal that we're working on and partnering up on that. So no, I appreciate you with that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, dude. So secondarily, let's take it back a little bit. You know, clearly people are going to hear how wise you are, smart you are on this thing. Let's take it back, like where you started. And I want to start, I guess, with you kind of briefly told me a story when I was out in Havasu about basically 2008 crash.
Mm-hmm.
You lose everything, and you're like, I got 30 grand left in the bank account.
Mm-hmm.
Called up the boys. Let's head to Vegas.
Yep.
Let's just blow it out.
Yep.
And but what's cool, and you'll tell the story, but what came from that and the relationship that came from that and kind of where that led you. So I'd love to hear that story.
You know, so the biggest takeaway from that, you know, when I called my boys and said, hey, we're going to Vegas and blowing all of our money and coming back and filing bankruptcy and becoming pizza delivery guys, right, was the burn the bridges mentality. You know, every time I've gone all in, it worked out for me. You know, kind of like, hey, look, doesn't matter how bad this is going to get, we're going all in kind of thing. It always worked out for me. But so in 2008, I had my own mortgage company. So like everybody else, we're slaying it, we're killing it. Everyone's got the cars and kind of living the life. And it was totally like Wolf of Wall Street level, like dialers, you know? And when the market crashed, it was pretty much overnight. So we went from, 50, 60 loans a month to like one, like it was dead. So I call my buddy, and these are all my buddies I went to high school with that were working for me because we're still pretty young. We're like 20, 21, 22, or 23. Yeah, 23. So we're all young. And we had, a couple girls working around the office that would bring us food and like clean the office and make sure papers. I mean, we had the whole thing moving, right? And about 2 months after the crash, I remember it vividly. It was in July of 08 when July of 07 is when it started and then really got bad in 08 even more. But when the phone stopped ringing that day, we sat back for about 2 months going, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Coming in every day, going to the gym, kind of still living our life going, okay, are we going to be naive and do nothing or what are we going to do here? And so it just based off everything that we're reading, it's like, okay, this isn't good. This is okay. I just bought a brand new house at the height of the market. I got an option arm loan. Like not only was I slinging option arms, I was taking option arms, and all my buddies are living with me. Each room had its own bathroom, so I had all my buddies it was a crash pad for sure. So I ended up going to my guys, and every Monday we have like an office meeting, like a kickoff meeting, right? So I go to my guys on Monday and they go, hey, here's what I think is going to happen in the market. I don't think this is going to turn out well for us. I think this is what we need to do, because if you look at the pizza delivery guys, they're making money right now. And because everyone's broke, everyone's just ordering pizza, right? So pizza does really well during a distressed market, FYI. And that's why a lot of people open up little pizza shops, man. It's pretty cool. But anyway, so I go to them and I go, okay, so this is what we're going to do. Friday, we're going to fly private out to Vegas. I think it was about 80,000 I had. So I said, I have about 80,000 left in savings. My burn rate's 80,000. So we're not going to be able to survive one more month. So we might as well go out with a bang. So we get a private jet, fly everybody out to Vegas. We go all in. I think we're at Hyde, which is at Bellagio when they first came out right there over the fountains. We're at Hyde and I'm buying bottles and everyone's like, this one guy comes up to me and he goes, what are you doing buying bottles for everybody at Hyde? Like, the market is kind of slow. It was quiet. And then all of a sudden it started kind of getting more and more busy and everyone's like coming from other clubs because I'm buying drinks. So it's like spreading, So at the end of the night, it's probably around 2:30, 3 in the morning. This guy comes up and I've seen him. He was around the club and he had kind of some business meetings going on. It was more of a lounge, So this guy comes up to me and you could tell he kind of knew, he had the swag about him that kind of just said he does well. And he had an IWC watch on, Prada glasses, and under roof indoors, at night. He's got probably a $5,000 suit in, super tailored. Chinese guy, well fit, but speaks perfect English. And unfortunately, and I say it respectfully, you can't tell how old these guys are. So at my first glance, I was thinking he's probably in his late 30s, maybe early 40s. Very well put together guy, speaks perfect English. And starts asking me, what it is I do and why I'm doing all this, right? And he just laughed and he goes, man, you're the guy I want to talk to. He goes, here's my card. And he goes, I'm telling you, you need to come see me this meeting on Monday. He goes, please show up. I really want you to show up. It's probably going to be worth it for you, especially if you're telling me everything that you're going through and what your whole purpose to be here was. Tell him the truth, right? So he goes, so at the end of those, we go, my buddies and I go, so this was Friday night. So for Saturday night, Sunday night, we go out, we have fun. But I was like, I'm going to push back our flights to Monday afternoon. I want to go see this. I'm going to go to this meeting. So it stuck with me all weekend, kind of looking forward to this Monday meeting, if you will. So I go to this thing Monday morning, 9:00 sharp. I'm wearing whatever I could. That's the nicest. And I walk in and it's private. And when I walk into this building, it's on the north side of Vegas. I walk into this building, there's private security outside, really kind of nice cars. Didn't really think anything of it. I go into this 13th floor. He's got the entire floor completely, filled with analysts. So cubicles that were really small, but they're all analysts. I get walked in with security. I'm on a list, puts me on, I walk in through security into this back room, which is a huge conference room. And what it was an Rio Mac auction. And what that was that, so in the FD, so we hear like with SVB Bank and Signature Bank, basically in essence collapsed, the FDIC comes in and bails out the banks, or they force JP Morgan or Bank of America to come and help buy the banks or give them some money and keep them up sustainable, right? Back then in 2008, that wasn't how it worked. What it was is that they relied on the FDIC and whatever liquidity they had to help bail out banks, but it was such a huge crash that the FDIC couldn't do anything about it. So the only way to bail these banks out was to start bringing in external money sources, right? And that was local billionaires from out of the country. And so this is what that auction was. And what he did is he had worked with an attorney or the law firm with the FDIC and came up with a product where he would help auction off the assets that all of these banks had that were distressed or non-performing. But when you buy banks, you're not just buying the real estate portfolios, you're buying auto loans and credit card debt and locations, and you deal with, employees, and it's a big deal. You're buying huge banks, right?
So his was like the software implementation of that? Yeah.
So what he did was he ended up coming up with, he married up with other, let's just call it governmental software technology that they use to track how many men to women owned mortgages, how many 228 LIBORs were out there, option arms, 30-year fixes. They pulled all of their data together collectively and then basically built an asset management software is what they did. So when they went to the FDIC and said, hey, look, this is what we'll do. You guys don't have the back office for these billionaires to come out and repurpose all these assets, but we do. So all of those analysts were basically saying, hey, you're one guy that has a multi-billions of dollars. You can come buy all of these distressed assets for pennies on the dollar, but my firm will repurpose those assets. And that's what he did. our government had no idea how to repurpose these assets. So he was brilliant. He was a former pension fund guy out of China, and he managed a $6 billion family office out of China. And he came over here knowing that this was going to happen. And so he landed in Vegas because Vegas was the foreclosure capital of the country. So he opened up shop about a year before the crash. He knew it was coming. So he's been, basically digging his heels in for almost a year before this had all happened. So now he's already built his relationship saying, hey, now that we are where we are, I can provide the back office support for all of you guys to repurpose these assets. Hence, how I got into the business was the Jobs Act, where you can now solicit to raise capital for startups and the Kickstarter side of it to kickstart businesses. It all kind of pollinates together.
That's through like a Reg A?
Yeah, through a Reg A, which we could talk about in a second. But that it all kind of pollinates together was bailouts and kickstarting, right? So these billionaires would come in and buy all these assets at this auction. They were literally had paddles buying billions of dollars in assets at this auction. And they had a whole board that literally was giving you the data of how many men to women own, mortgages or both or married couple. I mean, the data, it was all the data. How many, option arms are out there, how many adjustable rate mortgages are going to be coming due for refinance, people's income levels. And mind you, these were all stated income loans. Right. Everybody did stated income loans. So this was like, we're going to have to clean up this balance sheet and let people get hurt bad. Hence, that's why the short sale kind of forgiveness act came out, saying instead of you living in the house and go through a full foreclosure and we have to kick you out and do it, if you just short sell your house and come out of the house, we'll forgive the debt. Right. So this was like, it all pollinated together. So that's how I kind of got in the business. So what happened is when I was at the auction, I don't have the money. I was very clear on how much money I had. And by that time I was pretty much broke, going on 2 more days of partying like that, I was broke. So, Monday morning, he comes up to me after the auction, and it was a very quick auction, maybe 2.5, 3 hours I was in this thing. He comes up to me and I'm kind of sitting in the back by myself. And he just continues to favor me. And he goes, so what'd you think? And I'm like, well, I mean, it opened up my eyes to how the world works, and what we hear and, on the news and FDIC is going to come bail them out. Well, that's not true. It was billionaires that came in to help the FDIC bail out the banks is really what happened. And so when he was asking me, he's like, would you like to be involved in what I do? And I'm like, at some level, yeah, because I have no other option. I was very humble. And he goes, this is what I'll do. I'll give you anywhere between 30 to 50 million a month. What I need you to do is work with local agents and brokers to repurpose a lot of these loans and do like regular hard money loans, but keep people on their properties. So going back to the old finance model where you have to verify income, that type of stuff, but it's going to be private money. So it's not necessarily income driven. It's can they actually really afford it? And it's not DTI driven, right? So I went back and started doing private money mortgages to keep these people in their homes. But the reality was they were still lying and people were losing their jobs. And so I could only do maybe 5 or 6 million a month. So the first 2 months I was only doing $5-6 million. And he's like, I need you to be at 30 to 50 million. You need to figure it out. So it got to a point where I'm like, okay, well, give me the weekend. Let me see if I can figure this out. So I literally kind of went into a hole for a weekend. I'm like, how do I this is the only way for me to keep income coming in. I mean, there is no loans going on. So I'm like, why don't we go to, and this is when modifications started getting big. Remember that? Where all these, and then what happened was, and I want to say it's SB 94, I don't remember what it was, but what happened was all these attorneys were trying to get short sales and could not get short sales or couldn't get the modification and were converting their homeowners into short sales, or they were collecting upfront fees and you can't collect an upfront fee. So these attorneys are now getting looked at being disbarred. They're in panic mode, right? To try to modify these properties. So what I did is I went to them and I said, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we start going to all these modification attorneys, have them send us all of their short sale clients or their modification clients and move them to short sales. We'll come in and buy this property at 70 cents on the dollar, right? Given whatever the market value is, 70 cents is what we'll put the offer in at. Then the attorney will negotiate the purchase. We'll go from there to do a full-blown lease back with an option to purchase after 36 months. Because one thing that Obama did was not only the Forgiveness Act after a short sale, but 36 months after a short sale, you can get an FHA loan. They could buy back their own property. Wow. And at the time, when things got bad, I'm having friends and family calling me. They're losing their marriages and kids are getting kicked out of college. And it was bad. I mean, that's why divorce rates were at their all-time highest was after 2008. So it was just it was such a emotional tug on me. Like I almost felt I had this obligation to try to help the best I can. So the very first thing I did was go to these attorneys saying, give me all the ones that people's marriages are on the line and I'll bang those out now. And I built relationships with those people that are still investors to this day. That's how my business has gotten to where we are ultimately today, as all those people that I helped back then. So what happened was as I started coming in and doing these short sale leasebacks, I would go in there and again, we would negotiate the short sale. We would buy these properties at 70 cents on the dollar. We would lease it back to the original homeowners and then give them an option to buy it back at month 36 or maybe a little past that, going FHA. So they're able to keep their marriage, stay in their home, lower their payment, get a principal reduction, right? It was a win-win for everybody. My guys getting money out on the streets. We're buying assets at a discount. So the returns were amazing because the assets valued is this, you're buying it at a discount, rates are this. So your actual margins are looking pretty good. So he was getting a 10 clip, 11% cash flow on rents. And we did the very first month we launched this. So I opened up the Paradyme brand, hence the shifting and having to pivot and kind of be agile. I opened that up in July. I opened that up physically in August of 2009. And by November, we did 276 short sales for $33 million and banged it out, dude. And every month since then. So I opened up an office in Vegas, as you can imagine. And then I reopened an office after I lost the other one in Riverside. So we just decided to kind of crush it. And that's how we got into it. And then over time, the banks got smart and had more of a short sale department, and they wanted BPOs and they wanted to verify the value of the properties. And at the time we were chasing down Wachovia notes, which Wachovia got bought out, right? But those are the easiest ones because it was all chaos in there. So we're like, they'll just accept whatever offer. We're getting offers accepted at like 60 cents on the dollar. So we were just real aggressive at it. And then it got to a point where we're like, okay, well, the banks are requiring that the homeowners can no longer live in the property. So they're starting to sign disclosures that they can't live in the property after a short sale. So that started kind of getting people to go, well, we'll just move. We can't buy it back. What's the point? We'll rather buy somewhere else or move somewhere else, whatever. So then it got into REOs. So what happened was we got, okay, well, I still have this guy who's backing me with money. The short sales are starting to die a little bit. What if I start buying up REOs, working with all these brokers and real estate agents already that have real estate or asset management relationships, and I already have asset management relationships, and we'll start going in there and buying these homes and then turning them around, putting them back on the market and selling them. And back then, people were gutting their homes, like gutting them. They were taking their cabinets out of there. They're taking light fixtures and air conditioning units. And I mean, these houses were literally nothing but boxes and drywall once you got to some of them, Guys were so pissed. They were pouring concrete down the toilets and fucking up the plumbing. I don't know if you guys know about that. That was actually a big scandal between a football player that had a foreclosure. And he poured concrete down all of his pipes and froze up his pipes. So, so we're going in there having to cut. We're cutting up foundation, repiping. I mean, dude, we're putting a lot of money in this thing. So what happened was the banks, though, didn't have the relationships or deep-rooted asset management aspect to their firm to be able to have contractors go out and really bid on these REOs to know exactly what's happening with all these thousands of assets that are in distress or sitting on their balance sheet. So we would go in there and kind of go, hey, look, we built the relationship with the asset managers. Here's our contractors. So we started buying up REOs and negotiating the purchase prices according to what we had to put into it, get it back on the market. And we wanted anywhere between a $30,000 to $45,000 margin. And we were very clear with our asset manager. Hey, this is our margin, because out of that margin needs to go to real estate agents and taxes and right. So we were making maybe a 20 clip on every one, but dude, we're doing 20, 30, 40, 50 a month. Yeah, just crushing them, boom, boom. So we kind of kept that volume. But what ultimately happened was dealing with that many contractors, shoot me now, right? Yeah. Put a bullet in your mouth. So what was happening is we were getting to a point where it was like herding cats all the time. It was almost too much to manage, but it was scalable. It's like, well, how about I go back to doing hard money loans to these guys, getting the interest that I want, getting the points and fees that I want. I'll make the income, but I'll do more volume, and I'll give these guys, these contractors, the loan. And if they fail, I'll just foreclose and take the property back, but the property will probably be close to being finished. So that's how I got it back into doing hard money loans. and got, for the most part, still what we do, in some cases, what we do now, because I still manage a $100 million debt fund. We're
To the
fix and flip.
contractor, though.
Yeah,
And
we'll
they-
fund loans to
primarily fix and flips.
fix
I'm
and
assuming.
flippers. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what it was. So I ended up building a reputation of being, I was a top producer for 4 years straight in the country. You know, we were doing anywhere between 150 to 250 million and, you know, smaller fix and flip loans. So that's the very high volume. And then just kind of got into more, as time went on, you know, doors open and, you know, more zeros behind your deals, and started doing properties that were on the show $1 million listing and, you know, doing some of that stuff. So and just over time, just kind of go, okay, well, now I got this network of guys. I'm starting to get into the commercial space. There's a lot of equity plays involved. I got my network, started, you know, calling my friends and family, raising capital, and it just kind of morphed to where we are today.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So what I understand is if the business is struggling, just go get wasted in Vegas.
Basically, yeah.
It all works out.
Hopefully you meet the right guy. Yeah.
Yeah. What a story though. And just the level of grit required just to go through all those evolutions of what you were doing to get to where you're at today is fantastic.
You know, and I appreciate that, because on the other side of that, which is the iceberg concept, is the personal stuff you're going through. Having a child, I got a DUI. One of my buddies was dying in my arms. I was looking at 6 years, had to fight that. Wow. You know, went through a gnarly divorce, had a gnarly custody battle, you know. And so trying to continue to build your business and put food on the table while, you know, going through, it was very, 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 that's the real grit, you know, is that's a cool story, but what did you really have to go through to get there? You know, that's the stuff I want to talk about, you know, because everyone's got good stories, and there's a million people like me out there that have the cool, unique stories that have made money, that are doing okay or what have you. But it's like, I want to know, like, it's the mental capacity and the strength and the fight and the gray hair that makes a man.
About that,
you know?
Yeah, no, that's 100%, because you only see the highlight reels on social media, and those are the real stories. Like, you know, those are the real stories of, you know, and I have multiple of those stories.
I know you do.
Just
I know you do.
Ups and downs, having to move my family back to my parents' house, sleeping on my child's baby mattress and my feet hanging off it so my kids and wife could have the bed. Those are the good stories.
Yeah.
And those are the ones people, you know, really connect with you on. That's how you build a real community, because it's like, oh, like I'm not much different than you. I'm going through the same struggles. You got
to clean toilets, bro. And it's not that you clean you clean toilets forever. You clean toilets forever. If you're a business owner, a real leader, you clean toilets forever. Period. And I say that respectfully to the people that actually clean toilets to make a living. But you know, there's a part of it that you realize that there is truly a God. Right? There's no such thing as an atheist in a foxhole. You get to a point enough in life where you're low enough, you almost start believing in yourself because you've overcome so many things. You're like, no, I can do this again. So then you start walking differently, you start acting differently. And I'll tell you, one of the biggest lessons though, over all of that I've learned over the last few years, being sued by one of my best friends for $11 million. I want equity in your company, when he worked for me for a few months, you know, running away from child support, and I'm trying to help him, like just bad shit. Right. And it got to like, the reason why we are where we are is 100% my team. The people I have around me that support me, love me, appreciate me, the kind words you gave me. If you don't have a big support team, you will not be that. So a lot of the questions when I see guys that are very successful is he must have done well by a lot to really give him the support, because you always hear the naysayers and the negative and the haters or what have you. But on the upside, if that guy is still successful, there's going to be a huge group of supporters back there, but you never hear about them. But there's no way for you to get that level of success without that type of support. So let's talk about those people that support you. And the ones that typically do support you, they're taking bullets too. And they do it with a smile, because they just feel rooted. And the root is that relationship, that one-on-one. And as time goes on and that relationship has been strained and you've overcome it, there's such a deep-rooted love. It's like a marriage. Like you get to that 10-year mark and everything's downhill from there. You got to get to that 10-year kind of thing. It's true, whether it's any relationship. But once you have that relationship in your life and you have multiple of them, it's the most powerful thing any business owner can obtain is having those people in your life that can get you up to where you really want to be. You're just the front man, but they're the shield. You're the front man. You got to take it, but someone's got to do the dirty work and get the naysayers, right? But the rest of the team are also benefiting from those bullets. So what's happening is my team is going, Ryan, my retirement plan is on you. You keep going, and I'm going to keep loving and giving you the support, and I'll keep it up. I'll keep fighting with you.
Yeah.
You know, it's the best feeling in the world. It's been probably the biggest thing I've been going on for the last 2 years, this kicker of my team. But man, I literally almost have tears in my eyes because I literally tell everybody with my company, I love you. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. I cannot do this without you. I need you to be by my side, and anything you need, I'm the person to call. And guess what? I am that person they call when they need something. So nothing more better.
Man.
Yeah.
There's nothing better.
Same. I mean, let's talk about that because that is important. And, you know, we obviously go through the same type of things. Like how did you build that? How did you get that and build that team? Because I'm sure not everybody that's come through was stuck around and was loyal.
There's legit
I mean, you
data.
just said
it's 19 to 1. Every 19 people I hire for a specific department, 1 sticks. That's kind of friends.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Marriages too. If you look at the data, right? It's kind of the way it goes. So my wife is doing a lot of energy work, and she's been through her own set of pain. And maybe one day you guys will do a podcast and hear her story. It's pretty wild. In fact, it's very enlightening because I hear her story and I go, well, shit, man, I don't think I've been through as much as you have. I can handle this, kind of thing in some cases. But I've watched her morph, and she's been a beacon for me to continue kind of me looking inward to identify why I am the way I am. That's probably the most important thing. Most men are starting to get to that point. So all of us, I think we're all there. Like, why am I really that way? And always wanting to better yourself no matter what, right? Just constant student. But I would say that I think a lot of it came from self-esteem issues. What I was too much of a giver for a long period of time because I was looking for recognition. I was looking for love back. And it started when my mom left when I was 1, my father raised me. So, and then when I got married, that marriage didn't work out. And of course there's 2 sides to every story. I don't want to say anything bad. But I also did not feel appreciated or loved in that one too. And you kind of goes on and on. When you go through a divorce, if you have kids, it's probably the most icky thing in the world to go through. There's a reason why people say you don't know who you married until you go through a divorce, right? Especially when you have kids involved and money involved, and there's people are saying bad things to your kids and about you, and it's just icky, man. It's just a horrible thing. And my father always told me that one day, buddy, you'll grow up and you'll know exactly who your mother is. So I don't need to say anything bad. And I always loved that.
I appreciate that.
Loved
so much.
that.
I live by that.
You and I had probably a very, very
And let's talk about it there. And what happened is I have looked inward going, I am too much of a people pleaser. I keep giving too much away, down to like, I'll sign on loans for people. And I did this and I did that. But guess what? I'm always the one stuck holding the bag. Yeah. Nobody ever had that pound of flesh in a relationship like I did. Nobody. Mm-hmm. And I got to a point, my wife is the only one, my current wife. It's only 2 wives, okay? Just to be clear. Just to be clear. So, how many wives has this guy had? He's got really fucked up. Why don't we talk about that on this podcast?
Secret to a good marriage, man. Just get the first one out of the way.
Yeah, that's what I say.
I did the
you got to
same
get
thing.
the first one out, man. In and out, man. And so, but my wife is the only one that put that pound of flesh in the game. And even from a culture, but her background, her family, still, all of them are still married, that type of stuff. My family's not that way necessarily. But anyways, point is that in business, I always knew that I was stronger in numbers. So I always wanted to have partnerships. And so I was really big and, all right, we could do this together. Let's do this. Let's do that. We all did as young men. Like but none of them worked out. But I was always the one stuck holding the bag. Guys would leave and I had a guy rip me off for $2.5 million, and he was raising capital with my company, and a lot of the investors would come through him. And then he would take that money and invest into other projects outside the company, but using our brand and his clout with the company to build a private relationship with them and move them outside. After a couple of years, I found out that project went south. And I was like, wait, what? Are you using our emails? And you can imagine where this is going. We're talking SEC level problems here. And I ended up calling those investors and literally writing them a check, and it had nothing to do with my company, just to keep my company clean. And I couldn't sue the guy because he has 2 knuckles to rub together, bro. What am I going to do? Yeah. So I literally, And this is after I rebuilt after '08, went through a divorce, lost everything again, rebuilt. I got married. I fucking lost it all again. You know, I'm like, God, over somebody else's actions because they were greedy. You just get to a point you're like, God, I'm always the one that's getting stuck holding the bag. Yeah. So what I did is I said, no more partnerships, but I'm going to treat everybody in my company as if they're my partner. And I'll give them stock in the company. I'll give them equity, but they don't have voting rights, basically.
Yeah.
You know, and they're never going to have access to certain things that could ultimately hurt me, right? Those kind of things. Yeah. And I just kind of started, you know, trust but verify, know that there's a devil out there and it's in everyone, you know, that type of stuff. But what happened is I think I got to a point where my confidence finally kicked in. Where, you know what, I've earned a lot of stripes and I'm in rooms where people have been in the business 5 years, 10 years. I've been doing this now going on 23 years. I've seen a lot going through '08. I've had very high volume guys. So my exposure to deals is like nobody's business. I'm seeing stuff across the country. I see how contractors operate. I see different materials. I'm literally operating in all 50 states. So I'm kind of going, yeah, I definitely have more exposure and more confidence. And as my company started growing and I was going through, you know, taking shots, I got to a point where like, you know what? I don't need a partner to get me to where I'm at. I can do this in essence with my understanding, but with the right people to support me. And that's when I really kind of moved over that. But my wife was also one that, you know, and I think everybody has issues in their marriage. Let's just be honest. It's the way it goes. And it never ends. My father always told me, don't exchange one problem for another because every woman has their problems, right? So pick it, love it, and move on, man. Because you know what I mean? It's just the way it goes. But even in my marriage, you know, she had a lot of healing to do. So I was constantly giving for many years without having my needs met or being appreciated or feeling appreciated and so forth. And I just kind of got to a point. I know this sounds really cheesy. I said, fucking who cares anymore? I'm done with this feeling shit. I have an objective. And that objective is I have two boys. I have an 8-year-old and a 16-year-old. My 16-year-old is a Division I baseball catcher. He wants to wait until he gets married to have sex. Couldn't tell you how much I love this kid. He's a good man. He straight A kid. I mean, just a good boy. My youngest, smart as can be. And I'm sitting there going like, this world is burning. This world sucks. And they need me right now. I don't care about this emotional roller coaster. I need to operate. I need to act. And what happened was as soon as I stopped worrying about how I felt about certain things, knowing that no matter what, I didn't get dealt the right cards and stopped the poor me crap, you know, all of a sudden my business blew up because all of my energy was moving forward. So hence burning the bridges and making commitments. Once I pulled forward, when I did that, everything, my whole life changed down to fitness and dieting and fuck what that guy thinks, you know, kind of thing. I don't care what anybody says. I have this commitment to things that I feel and I want, and I need to believe in myself and the decisions I've made and continue to make decisions without other outside influence on what I want to do. And if I do that, we'll probably be okay. And since I've done that, it's really why we've gotten to the point where we are today. Just no outside influences trying to guide my company. You know, this is what I know. You have not been in the business as long as me, so I'm not going to listen to you. I just say it with respect. Right. But I listen 2 years and 1 month because maybe there's a landmine that they see that I don't see. Right. So I'm also kind of playing that card. But I've also gotten to a point going, you know, I do want to be a nice guy. I don't want to be an asshole. That's who I am. That's why I've been so giving, because I was insecure and had self-esteem issues. I kept giving because I felt I would get that loyalty and love back. When you realize that's not normal and that's not how people really operate, they have to be that person to give that love. So if I love you, Rio, you're going to give me that love back because that's who you are. You just started that out great because that's who you are. So if that's who you are, you're going to be that way to everybody. But then you're going to realize like not everybody's that way too, and that's okay. So surround yourself around people that are like you or equally yoked. And if you could do that in your business, the likelihood of everybody being a part of the mission, not about me, that's when you're going to win. And that's the point.
To have that awareness is very difficult. To take personal inventory and say, I'm making decisions so people like me instead of they respect me as a business owner, as a leader. And very similar upbringing where I had a lot of childhood trauma where I was making decisions so people would like me. I was trying to validate my self-worth through other people, and you just get taken advantage of over
100%.
time. And I still battle with it today.
And it's not that they do it on purpose necessarily. Yeah. You don't think that these people are necessarily taking, some of them do.
Yeah.
They don't take advantage of you on purpose. They start to treat you a certain way.
Yeah.
And they're used to treating you a certain way. And then that just kind of pollinates into you're being used and you're being taken advantage of because you're just not a person that stands up for yourself or what have you. And now you're just that person in that corner in their life and they get to do whatever they want.
Yeah, I felt like for me, it gets exploited when things go really well or really bad. Mm-hmm. Then they take advantage of you on both sides. And so that awareness, though, is very difficult to take that personal inventory and then have the wherewithal to make adjustments in your decision-making every day as a business owner and your relationships. That's hard to do, man.
It's very hard to do.
But
I'm curious on that though, because you said, you just got tired of it and it was, but was it, because I know some people that it's just like, whatever, an epiphany, whatever. And it's like day one done, I'm not doing it anymore. Was it that, or was it kind of, it still took time to kind of work yourself through that?
My father as my best friend, right? Because he raised me. My father always told me, just like the women I date or whatever, and my dad would be like, you keep putting up with all this stuff. I don't know why you keep putting up with this stuff, or friends, or why do you keep putting up with this stuff? But what happens is I've always had kind of that light switch. Once I shut off, I'm off. There's no going back. Respectfully, my ex-wife tried to come back and I was like, I just don't, it's done. I can't, I'm so broken inside for you. Like I won't be the best version. We won't make it. I promise you, like this isn't going to work. Right. So I've always had kind of that light switch mentality. So I think what happened is I know this sounds a little cliche, but I was so tired of feeling pain, meaning I'm so tired of these icky feelings or not sleeping over things or not feeling like having to worry about this or worry about that. And, because a lot of times 99% of the stuff you worry about never comes true anyways. But what I was realizing is that's just the people that are in my life that are making me worry or not making me feel valuable and whatever. And I'm like, you know what? But I'm the one putting food on the table for all of you guys. Mm-hmm. There's something off, And I'm sitting there going like, you have to get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm here. I'm shutting that down. I'm going to shut that down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to me and I'm going to rebuild. So you almost have to get to a point where you're going to throw in the towel and you're like, I'm done. I mentally just can't be stable for everybody anymore. I'm going to shut this all down and kind of recalibrate and see if I'm on the right track or maybe rebuild. And I had to do that, but not from an economical side. It was a mental thing for me. And once I did that, it really did help out. But here's what happened. They always say that men have to be alone and drown out the noise to find themselves. My wife and I went through a real serious hardship about 2 years ago. And I was in Nashville when I was moving my headquarters to Nashville. So I would just stay in Nashville while she stayed out in California. So I would just extend my time when we weren't doing good. But I was by myself. The waking up every morning when you have 3 kids to waking up every morning by yourself, it was two different lives. And then I was like, okay, now I'm able to live these 2 different lives. What life do I really want? Where do I want to be? So all of this hard work, all this pain, all this stuff that I went through with work and stress, I did it all for them. Mm-hmm. Now I'm by myself. Mm-hmm. Something's up. Mm-hmm. So I actually sat back and I breathed and I took some deep breath. And one of the biggest moments, I know this is weird too. Ed Milet had a podcast with Dane Cook. I love Dane Cook. We all love Dane Cook, but I don't know if you know his story. It's impressive. You might watch it one day, or listen to it one day. But he said something. He goes, when I was at the lowest time of my life, I wasn't so quick to get back up. He goes, he said, I learned so much about myself when I was down there that I wanted to stay down there because I felt the value. I felt me build this inner strength that just like I can take on anything. And it was almost like you're finding this power on your own. You don't need outside sources to give you validation. You don't need these people you don't need the success. You don't need any of that. And he said, and when I felt that, it was like, and it stuck with me. And in fact, I was driving I was by myself, still in that whole situation, 4-hour drive out to a place I have in East Tennessee with my mom, because I reconnected with my mom 5 years ago. Very humbling going through her story. I was going out to see her and I listened to that podcast in the middle of nowhere. Not been there before, no reception. I'm telling you, at least getting some podcasts breaking up. And it was just a real big eye opener for me going like, you know what? It's okay to be down here. And so I stayed down there for a little while. And so my wife and I, we weren't in a rush to break up. We weren't in a rush to try to make it work. We had kids that we had to, so let's just breathe for a second. And that's kind of how I played that card. And that's exactly what I did is I recalibrated and I came back a different man is what happened. And I came back with like, I wore a lot of her pain. I thought it was me. Like I should be fixing her. Why is she still the way she is? I should be the one that helps her or fix her. So when she would act like, not say lash out because we never yell at each other, but like when she was off or she would say certain things, I stopped taking it personal. So then I stopped responding negatively. I was able to go, babe, this is something you need to deal with. I'm here to help you, but I can't help you. And I can't come down to that because you need a rock in your life and I'm in a good place. And I could tell that this is something different. I don't need to wear that. So then all of a sudden I became her rock, which helped her heal faster. Because now that punching bag in essence no longer exists. Now it's more of a mirror.
Interesting.
Yeah. And
Very
that was
interesting.
very powerful. So once that changed, everything in my life, including my business, my relationships internally, my relationships with my employees, they became not employees, they became family. And I'm like, everyone has their hurdles. Everyone has their things behind the closed doors. Everyone has their marriage issues. I need to be compassionate towards the people that love me, support me. I'll give them the same love. But like, how can I elevate them and be big? So everybody that's in my company at an executive level started from the bottom and now they're executives. So they're like very proud to be here.
Wow.
And so, but you know, in the right environment, people can shine, man.
Yeah.
I mean, outside, you don't need PhDs. You can do very well with you have the right environment and the right doors open. So anyways, point is that was the most powerful time in my life was drowning out the noise. It wasn't about anything else except for me and God, basically, you know?
Wow. Just taking you down to raw form, man, and you can rebuild yourself back how you want.
My dad told me when I was going through all this, the only person I would share this with was with him. And my dad says, God can't paint a masterpiece unless it's on a blank piece of canvas. He's like, it's like a tattoo. You can't go have an old tattoo and go try to make it look new. You can if you do the same thing.
Yeah.
But that will also fade. But if you want to build a new life, God can't paint a masterpiece unless it's on a blank piece of canvas. And I was like, damn.
Yeah.
So then I started crying. Like, just give me all that pain. I'm talking drain me now because I want to come back strong and I'm going to come back a better person for everybody that loves me, that I can trust and that needs me. And that's kind of really the turning point of my life.
Oh, I love that, man.
Yeah.
And
Dude, that was
that
deep.
recognition of you and your wife's relationship, like a lot of people will say, you have to become one. And a buddy of mine told me, and I've always kind of stuck with this philosophy. It's like, no. You have to be a whole person first. She has to be a whole person. Then you can have a really healthy marriage. So you got to a place where you could be a whole person for her. And that allowed her to heal. Now she's a whole person. The relationship is flourishing, right?
Oh, yeah. And she's got a business now for that, helping others going through it. A lot of them, ironically, are people that have marriage issues. Because it really is the most painful.
Yeah.
You know, that and financial or losing a child. Those three things are probably the worst you could ever go through in your life. And so a lot of them are like marriages. She's like, this is relevant for me. Like, I got you. Let's go. You know, so she's helping she does a lot of energy work and mental health work, and she has a nonprofit and so forth. But that's her passion is to help people.
Oh, it's fantastic, man.
So cool stuff.
Living proof. It's cool. Really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But men don't talk about it anymore.
They don't, dude.
But you need a community of men, dude.
Yeah.
Good communities is powerful.
Yeah. And we need to get that out of our system and discuss and support each other for it. Man, it's a big
You know
deal.
why? It's because we are dying for our family and we have no one to talk to. That's what people don't see is we're out here literally, okay, you got a nice car and you're going to work and you're enjoying your life. Yeah, to an extent, but the pain, the stress, the playing chess, how you play the cards, how you build your business. It is constantly 100% a fight all day, all the time. Yeah. So when you have a man like you, because how many kids you have?
8.
8 kids. That's stress in itself.
Oh, yeah.
But then trying to put food on the table for 8 people. Like, no one ever talks about that. Why? Because it's people expect it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not only do they expect you to put food on the table, they expect you to be there, be a good dad, not lash out, not beat them, the list goes on, and still be the best husband and be fit and be this and be that. I don't know. It's just almost impossible. but we're making it happen. So why aren't we talking about what it actually is taking to get there? And it starts with your mental. But you have to get to a point where you literally you're humble. You put your tail between your legs more than most to be able to do it. And that's a real man to me. Someone who understands his strength and his power and is dangerous, really, but he can control it, right? And that's what all these men do. Because if you don't, then one stupid mistake can ruin everything and hurt all these kids, whether it's a DUI or the list goes on. So you can't just do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So that's where I think a lot of men need to be compassionate and bring it up and talk more about it. But let the world know, like, hey, don't underestimate a man that's actually doing it, because that's a fight in itself. Getting up every early when we don't want to feel like getting up. You got to do things that you don't feel like you want to do. You're hurting, you're pain, your back hurts, everything's hurting all the time. It's like, dude, guys, you don't
speak my
understand
language, man.
I deal. Yeah, right.
Well, I think it's tough too, because it's like, I think a lot of us can relate. Like, our wives are our best friends.
Yeah.
And you think about that. We're going through this mental battle every day. It's a war zone. And then it's like, I want to go home, and like, she's the only one I want to talk to. Well, when I'm ready, I need a little space first.
Yeah.
But
Normal.
it's like, and this is kind of more of a recent revelation, is where it's like, and somebody said, I can't remember, the podcast maybe, but it was like, I'm offloading all my stresses, onto her, and now she's carrying it. And now I see her acting different, and I'm like, you can't do
You
that.
almost can't.
You
No.
can't do that, because she has to, carry the household and make sure the kids are good. And now if she's bad, now it's getting onto my kids. And
So you have to harness it.
Right.
So because you're coming home to something that's bubbly and happy, and okay, I dealt with this with the kids, and the low level problems, and to say respectfully, the low level problems she has makes you feel better, because the shit you just got done dealing with every single day.
yeah,
So you're like, babe, I love you. What can I do to help you? But you don't want to offload your onto her, because then you have two people in the same room with the same problems.
yeah.
Yeah,
And that's not good.
And they carry those issues differently. So for like, as a man, to provide has been a massive pressure for us, and for my wife to care for the children in particular ways, and even just having discussions about, this boy did this to one of our daughters, or do we do this, and the clothes they're wearing. In my mind, I tell myself, like, okay, this is something I need to or should handle, but for her, that pressure is probably similar as to the pressure to perform financially for me in how our relationship works. But you have to be strong for her, and you can't just go dump that garbage on her, like you were saying. Like, it's a very well said. Like, there should be a group of guys that have that relationship, man.
You know what my father told me too? He goes, you know how you're so passionate about your work that you're so emotional about it. So when you come home, you got to decompress, but you don't want to bring it to her. Well, what she does when she comes to you about her problems for her day and with the kids and the issues that she has with her kids is because she's equally as passionate about being a mother and being that close to the kids, that she needs somebody to dump on too. But two people can't dump on each other. It ain't going to work. So who's going to make that choice to just shut up and take it? That's us, dude. Because if you can help, because why you really need to make sure that environment for the kids is the most important.
Right.
And to keep your marriage in somewhat, pick your battles, right? But if you can help her mental, then it's going to pollinate onto the children. And so if you can let her unload, a lot of times, sometimes you can, if she unloads, like you actually stop thinking about your shit sometimes, right? Because you're like, okay, well, what got to do over here? I'd rather deal with some of that stress than the work stress for sure. I'll deal with the kids. You let me deal with it. I got this. But when she unloads, she feels better. And then all of a sudden she's like, so what can I do for you? You're like, baby, tickle my back tonight.
That's it.
That's all, right? You don't need that much.
But the permanency of those roles. So I have to remind myself, if I can help influence my wife and children for the better, that relationship will never go anywhere for my entire life. I will right? If we do this right, if something happens at work, we can start in our business tomorrow. We can hire a new employee tomorrow. We can go out and raise capital for this problem or fix this. But the relationship with the kids, man, that's got permanent deal to it. You know what I mean?
Because you want your kids, we all want our kids to turn out like us, and then on the good parts, and then we don't want our kids to be anything like us on the bad parts. But at the same time, you kind of need them to see it all.
Yeah.
You get to that point too, at certain ages, and start exposing yourself. And that's where I'm at with my oldest kid. My oldest son knows pretty much everything about me. I'm no longer Superman.
You have two or three? Two boys?
I have two boys and a daughter through marriage. So so my oldest son and my daughter, which is Kara's, my wife's daughter, are both 16. They're 2.5 months apart. And then my wife and I have one together that's 8. So he's our glue in our family.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So, but I have 2 boys. And my oldest son, I would say he's got my number. You know, he knows who dad really is. I'm not Superman, but I kind of still am. You know, he's so proud of dad, and he works his ass off because he knows, like, I'm doing it. He should do it too. Like, I can't beat at every game, but that's okay. Because one day he's going to be in my shoes, and he even looks at, I'm going to take over dad's company if baseball doesn't go, kind of thing. Or when I'm done with baseball, I'll go over and work with dad. Yeah. So he wants me to build what I'm building. So I have his support, right? My youngest one, Dad, where are you? What are you doing? I'm like, I'll be home, buddy. I'm right there. You know, that type of stuff, which is so, like, there's so much purity to that. And that kind of keeps me going too. But again, the one thing that I think isn't talked about enough is how in today's day and age, putting food on the table is harder, in my opinion, than it was 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And just not just putting food, but social media has been a catalyst of comparison. And so people and my children, like, I feel like I've done well as far as economics are concerned in the last X years. And then I see on social media, you know, that they've got a friend that took their private jet to their 6th house. And I'm like, well, are you expecting that? Because I'm not, oh, listen, man, I'm not there. So
it's true. Yeah. It's totally true. Yeah. I think they're definitely that. I feel like sometimes the kids don't care about that. Once they get older, they do. Once they're in that 16, 17, 18 range, they start comparing. But like the younger kids, they just want your time.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, they really do. They just want your time. And I think that a lot of times helps kind of create a loyalty component to it, that it's like, no matter who you are, what you make, it doesn't matter. There's that love and loyalty is there. And I think it starts at that young age, that connection. Because I can have conversations with my son where he may see a friend that's doing really, really well in their family. But I mean, I'm pretty smart now. I can be like, well, there's a reason why he got that. No, well, okay, buddy, he sold the company. Yeah, he's got $200 million. I don't have $200 million. Okay. So good for him. So he's definitely he's a 0.5%, not a 1%. You know, we're getting there. We're getting up there. We're not that guy by any means, you know. But at the same time, it's like, you could have that too, buddy. So it's like, hey, let's have a conversation about it. You know, you can have that too. I have the knowledge in the capital markets. I can get you there if you want to get there. But let's talk about the pain you got to go through to get there. Yeah. You know, that's what you don't see is what that guy has to go through to get there. Yeah. You know, probably he has, you know what? He's not very close to his son. Well, there you go.
Yeah,
you know,
man.
So you kind of just, and not saying to be, but look, that's just the road they took. I said, everyone's got their cards, dude. You know, I'm not able to be there. My Papa wasn't able to be there for me on certain things. Everyone's got their cards. Not saying that's the right or wrong. It doesn't matter. It's what you want. You try to build their life around what you want, what your heart says, you know, and that's how you want to be. If his heart was like, I want to go be a multi-billionaire, fine. He went and did it. His kids are going to have to suffer. Other things are going to have to suffer, but that's what happens. People who take bullets and they're going to have to sacrifice certain things to get to certain parts. There's always sacrifice involved. So don't judge him. It's a great life, but he may have disconnect somewhere else. That's normal.
Yeah. Oh, I love that, man. So, my girls are 14, 15, and 19.
Oh.
So right in that age. And my wish is they're kind humans and they're not assholes. Like, they're good people. I don't care what you want. I don't exactly what you're saying. You want to make $1 billion? Fantastic. Yeah. You want to be a stay-at-home mom? Fantastic. Yeah. If it lights you up, I'm
Some of them probably go back and forth. Some of them, I want to be a stay-at-home mom. Like, good. That's there's so much respect in that, especially nowadays. Yeah. Man. You know, with like this whole like primal women movement type thing. I'm like, this is not going to work for you. This doesn't look good for you. I promise you. You know, you can go run your business and do your thing, but if you're going to wear the pants in the family, it's not going to work very long if you have a manly man, you know, or any man really at all, because it's not how they operate, you know? So, but yeah, that's good. All right. Do you want to talk more about, did you want to go another direction or do you want to talk more about the,
well, let's kind of end out. Well, first of all, that was awesome. Like I didn't expect it to go so deep. So that was powerful. We got a little bit of your kind of the beginnings of your career. Let's kind of get to what you're doing now, and then we'll get through that. So that'll be on the podcast, Perfect. And then we'll break up, and then we'll do something big
cool.
quick.
So yeah, go ahead and ask the question. I'll just go from there.
I mean, really, where is Ryan Garland now? What are you doing now, and what do you got in the hopper?
So right now, my baby is the Barn Caves project. That's that project that we're talking about, the barn dominiums with like a huge oversized garage, which I call the man cave, right? Because it's some of them are 28 feet wide by 70 deep. So that's identical to some of our storage units. But ultimately what we want to do is we have a family office, and again, until the fat lady sings kind of thing, we can't put our eggs in this basket, but we have a family office and a lot of other wealthy individuals that are looking at this product is going, okay, we think you have something here. So for example, this is kind of in the attainable, affordable residential space. And when I say attainable, not necessarily affordable, because I think people say affordable, they think low income housing. This is attainable. And when I say attainable, it's because what our exit price is going to be actually a little bit below what's normal for the same square footage and bed bath count in this area. So with the volatility in the market, my goal is to try to build a superior product that people not only want badly, but it's more affordable where you just can cast your net and get more end users, more buyers, right? That's where you really make your money. But the design of it is the trendy part. Barn dominiums, that's a big deal right now. Yeah. And then what we want to do is take the floor plans in the community that we're building right now, which is in Lake Havasu. It's 18 acres, 123 units. We're going to take 4 floor plans, and then we're going to also sell those floor plans to other people who want to just plop these down on a lot somewhere else around the country. Right. So we're trying to make it at least diversified enough where you can add on, bolt on, do whatever you want to do. Buy the unit, manufacture it, and go drop it. But we're going to start it and kick it off with a community here in Lake Havasu. Yeah. So the largest one is a 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath, which is 3,300 square feet, and then it goes down to about 1,100 square feet, 2 bedrooms, 2.5 bath. So you'll have smaller units, larger units. One side will have a 14-foot garage, so basically your standard RV, boat and RV storage. And then on the back, we'll have a standard 2-car garage where you kind of have more of a standard lifestyle in and out of your garage, go get groceries, go pick up your kids kind of movement. But it's more of an alley look where you just have a smaller road where you get all your trash and all your stuff goes out the back. But then you have the big, wider garage driveways that's needed for all your toys, right? Mm-hmm. So you still need to have that wide driveway for those big boats and RVs, especially out there. The boats and RVs just keep getting bigger, so we got to cater to that. So that's where we are right now. We're looking at building 35 of those locations throughout the country. But inside the residential component is also a gym. So the same thing, like out here, it's so hot right here in Phoenix, Scottsdale. It's so hot here. You can't really build an apartment project or some sort of residential project without a pool, right? No way. But most of the time, those communities are also building gyms or small gyms. So originally, that's what we were going to do. We're going to build a pool that the community can use, a community center, if you will, and then have a small gym that everyone can kind of go and work out. Well, the issue is that insurance costs are so high right now. Though the insurance for me to have a pool and that gym was so high that I'd have to pass that cost over to my unit owners for HOAs, and the costs were like $300 a month. Who's going to buy a $750,000 house with a $300 HOA? Nobody. It would be dumb to, Better be a really cool community center, Right. And it's not going to be that cool. I'd have to go much more extravagant to get someone to even justify $300 a month. So what I did was I said, well, Lifetime Fitness is actually by trade a multifamily builder. And what they did is they would actually build apartments and not put in a pool or any type of gym, but they would build a large Lifetime Fitness gym across the street and give their unit and their tenant owners or their tenants access to the gym. That was a big deal. And I'm like, wow. So what they did is they maximized all the rentable square footage or all the square footage as possible for rentable income and build more units and then just give access to the public gym that they have across the street. And that's ultimately what I'm doing here. So we have a 30,000 square foot gym that, I say it respectfully, the city desperately needs a good gym. Like it's like rough. So get a nice gym, everybody can go to, hang out, work from, very similar to like a Lifetime Fitness feel. Because when I travel, I go to Lifetime Fitness, I just work in the little bar area, eat food, a couple meals, and I just pop up my laptop and I work in between meetings and work out. So very similar to that feel. But now that is a public gym. So all the fees that's generating off the public covers the cost to maintain it. So then my unit owners don't have any of that cost in their HOAs, but they have access to that gym and that pool. Right.
Oh, I love that.
So now I'm able to compress those HOAs down to like under $100 per unit. So the likelihood of me being able to get more of a top tier price for the unit and really move these things is much greater. But we also are building a much nicer community center. I mean, this is a 30,000 square foot gym instead of like a 2,000 square foot gym that nobody's going to use with crappy equipment. You know,
And that's how a lot of those regular ones are. And they're rarely used, but you still pay for it in your HOA every month.
Yep.
Yeah,
So eliminate the HOA, but build a huge gym across the street that everybody wants. That's, you know, that's like that's its own business, right? I'm bringing in a guy who has 30 locations that, you know, is going to manage it. We're going to build our own equipment. We're doing all this super cool stuff. So it's going to be a beacon for that location, which is also right next to 720,000 square feet of retail, which is the mall. We have Home Depot. We got the airport. So the location's key too. So you want to keep all that in mind, right? So now we got the location, we got residential, we got the affordable side of things. And then you have a gym, which is desperately needed out there. And that's going to be a driver. So we're actually building the gym before the residential component. So once you build the gym and it's set up like, hey, you got a gym with a Ferrari hanging from the ceiling as a chandelier, and you got custom equipment, literally. And then you have custom equipment and you have all this cool stuff. Like, this is a bitchin' gym. We're actually building and mimicking Dubai's Club Drift pool. So Club Drift is like the #1 pool beach club in the world, right? I'm actually mimicking that pool there. So I'm building that same pool there. And then I have an underground small spa and a cold plunge as well. So very trendy and much needed. Yeah. I love the way that feels. So we're really bringing in kind of all the right amenities for the gym, if you will, and then give everybody access as unit owners to go there. So the gym itself is its own standalone business, but now that building has value because it generates income. Now I'm removing that away from my unit owners and they don't have to worry about HOAs, and it's not going to be, in some cases, liability to the unit owners. So how cool is that, amazing. Right? Smart. So that's a big movement. A lot of people are digging that. So kind of going back is we got a group that issued us a $390 million commitment. It's an LOI, really. So a letter of intent to give us $390 million to build 35 locations over the next 10 years across the country. Ooh, so again, until the fat lady sings, we've had a lot of family offices like this do these type of things. We're a lot farther along in what we call our courtship with them. We have several analysts. We've met with both principals. These are legit people. They've looked us up. We've looked them up. So we're going down that road. We're hoping that they write this big check for us. But it's a very institutionally designed product that marries up with the city's needs, affordability. It's trendy. You can sell these units online to build somewhere else. You got the gym, health and wellness, which is fastest growing industry we talked about earlier. You got all and that's going to cater to the city and the demand of the city. You have all these components to not only generate revenue and sustainability and equity increase, but you're creating something that everybody wants. And if it's a win-win for everybody, including the city and utilities, it's the likelihood of us doing well is much greater. And that's what we try to do is how is this project going to be best for everybody? So that's our baby. I'm also building a 15,000 square foot one man cave, which is called The Cave. And I'm actually making that a kind of a venue for networking, like more high end. We're going to kind of squeeze out I say it respectfully, but squeeze out the guys that aren't really doing that well or trying to fake it to make it. We're going to have it a $10,000 buy-in. You're going to be vetted. We're going to make sure you're a business owner. We're going to understand what you're trying to accomplish. You're going to have 4 golf simulators, 4 race podium 1 simulators. You're going to have all these high-end cars on racks, and you can store your cars there. So it's for car enthusiasts as well. And out there, it's a big deal. So boating and cars is all kind of pulls together. Have that, and then I have some more storage that I'm building. It's kind of boring. It's just storage. But those are my 2 babies right now that I'm building and I'm focused on. So
man.
Good stuff.
Blast, man. So fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Beautiful. Well, this was good, dude.
Yeah, bro. I'm glad we did.
This was a good time. Where can people find you?
So I would say look me up on social media. That's usually the best, just so you can kind of get to know me and my brand more. Yeah. Which is I think it's Ryan Garland _Paradyme.
Yep.
Or just look up Paradyme and you can find it. That way. You can subscribe to our email list. You get a lot of our newsletters that talk about the market. So, for example, what just happened with the stock market and the kind of, in essence, a soft crash, if you will, we talk a lot about that because the CEO of my company is a former hedge fund guy. So bringing a Wall Street level kind of communication center to tell our investors what to expect from a public side and private side, we try to provide that type of, I'd say, education. So you can even subscribe to that. So, and then my book too. My book, I'm launching a third book. So that'll be coming out here shortly. So, but the best way to do it is all through social media because I'm very active on social. So everybody can find that stuff through there.
Yeah, no, we appreciate you, dude. Appreciate you coming out, flying the chopper out. This was awesome. And yeah, that's another episode of The Playbook.
Thanks for having me.